Don't tell anybody how quickly I can do these, not my publishers. They know. Terrible tusk and has terrible jaws. So with a lot of the Gruffalo, I had to follow what was described in the text. So you had to have a black tongue, which I always forget to draw. I thought Gruffalo sounds a bit like buffalo. He should have horns. He should be like a monster. Turned out toes and knobbly knees, so that was in the text. The tail wasn't in the text. It's my addition. Well, I came from Germany to go to art school in the UK and studied visual communications. And that was really what gave me the idea that I could be an illustrator, and that's a proper job and something to earn a living with. I think my kind of style, slightly humorous, slightly, there's some naivety in it, I think, and it lends itself to children's illustration. And I could see that children would respond to my pictures in a positive way, and turn out grown-ups as well. So when I go do signings, I hear from the parents that they enjoy the books as well. So that's the greatest compliment one can get, when it works for grown-ups and children. I've got a very messy drawing table. I had an even smaller one, but I found out that size doesn't matter. If it was that big, it would be messy as well. And I have to have all my inks and all my color pencils and everything on the table. And so I think messiness is a little bit unavoidable. I use a dip pen with a metal nib to do the black outlines, and then it's just coloring in. And I use inks, liquid inks or watercolors, and I use brushes, and I use color pencils to give the kind of brightness of the colors. And there's no big secrets. When I do school visits, I always say I use the same materials as the children, watercolors and color pencils, but I buy them in an artist shop, and they're probably a little bit better quality than what you can get in a school. I usually start drawing the main characters first and get approval from Julia and the editor. And then I start sketching the story, and it's usually quite a fast process. I have ideas for pictures. I don't need to sit and think about it a long time. I just start drawing. And I don't consider myself as being a very intellectual illustrator. I'm sure there's people who are much clever. It's very intuitive. I sort of draw what comes into my head, and it seems to work. And then the mouse, looking very confident that he won't be eaten. And then I can start coloring in. And these things are water soluble. And I've used them right from the beginning. I always use these, and I hope they will be made for forever. And I don't know what I will do if they stop making them. Start a new career. Yeah, so normally I would have the radio on while I'm doing this. Listen to something, German radio or Radio 4, Radio 3, or music. I can do this endlessly, but I will stop now. I have a little bit of freedom. I mean, Julia usually has a way of describing characters a little bit in the text, so I didn't have complete freedom with the Gruffalo. I didn't have complete freedom with the aliens and Smets and the Smooths. Yeah, these were my initial sketches for Squash and a Squeeze. And you can see that the little old lady looked very, very different from... I mean, I would do sketches like that to show what would be on the pictures. And I try to add things that are not in the text, because I think that's part of my job and what people enjoy, to see things. It's nice to have a bit of freedom, and I think Julia is very much used to it now. Yeah, and the Gruffalo started off like this as well, with a slightly... Well, first I thought maybe they could be wearing clothes, and then Julia didn't like that. And I had the first version of the Gruffalo, would he be on all fours or would he be... And they said this is a bit too scary. I should make him a little bit more less frightening. I think she had different ideas what the Gruffalo would be like and what the witch would be like in Room of the Broom. Completely different ideas. And she's got this nice image of, it's a bit like when you go on a holiday and you have an image of what it's going to be like, and then you go there and it's completely different, but it's still nice. So I like that metaphor for the process, for the author. She's sort of giving it to me and then has to wait what... I think nowadays she has a vague idea what I come up with. And again, lots of alternative versions, because this is not the one that ended up in the book. Because I think the Gruffalo didn't look right or something, I can't remember. I've been trained really working for British publishers that the editors have some influence, or the publishers. I think the French would be more like reluctant to tell the artist what to draw, but the British are not. Stickman, yes. I don't think they're Stickman sketches. Maybe they are. Yeah, here they are. That's the beginning of Stickman and his family. First I do a small one, normally, like this, to show what would be on the pictures to Julia and the editors. And then I would do a bigger one when I start doing the artwork on this sort of layout paper, and I would trace that onto watercolor paper, and then it would look like that. You can even see the different stages of unfinished drawings. Yeah, a finished piece of artwork would then look like that. That's the big question. I have no answer to that. What is the magic of our encounter kind of in the book? Because we work completely separately. That's often a surprise for people. The editor is always in between as a mediator, and I don't know what it I don't know what it is. I mean, she's a great writer of picture books. Obviously her texts are wonderful. Her writing is magical, that works so well being read aloud, and it seems to be something that I correspond with in my drawings. And I quite like the way that it is a little bit of an enigma, why it works so well.